It's Matchday 11 picks edition of the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code PLGP to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and the NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Welcome, everybody, to the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Today is Thursday, November the 7th. We are here to run the rule over the Champions League and other Euro action that finished about half an hour ago and make our best bets for the Premier League Matchday 11 fixtures over the weekend. Joining me from somewhere in Nottingham is Mr. Barry Pernaluna. If our pre-show chat had anything to go by, Barry's going to be the right one tonight. Barry, how you doing?
I'm all right. I'm very agitated. I'm very irritable. I think I mentioned the other day my ears were still full of water from spending too much time in the sea, and it hasn't got any better. I've got 2 blocked ears. I've been to the doctors who basically didn't help very much. I'm putting some ear drops in. They haven't helped very much. And I'm just very annoyed by everything because all I've got is a constant ringing in this ear and just 2 muffled ears. It's like I'm wearing earplugs. Everything is, I just can't listen to people. People talk to me and it annoys me. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
57 minutes of my crack is just what the doctor ordered then. Is that what you're saying?
Not at all, no.
So, just to have a little peek behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz style, Barry arrived for the stream about 30 seconds before 10 o'clock, which is quite good for him. Christmas party fund didn't take a beating. And I said, like you do, all right, Baz, how are you? In 3 words, I got out to Barry. How are you then? Start. That was it. Didn't say hello, nothing. How are you then? Start. He just wanted me to press the button. Literally 0 small talk. So I don't know how Barry is. I don't know how the family are. I could have known how he was doing. I've got nothing about him. How we then start. So we've started. Here we are. Look, everyone.
Here we are. The sooner we start, Malcolm, the sooner we finish.
The sooner we start, the sooner we finish. We should get that on a t-shirt, Baz. That'd be good in the merch store. Andy was first here. Welcome along, Andy Lee. We're going to talk about Lee in a minute. Burnley got robbed tonight, by the way. Who else is here? Pete Picks. Pete, how you doing? Pete has got his ponies in the chat there for tomorrow. I'll stick them up on the screen. We'll tweet them out tomorrow. If you are lurking in the YouTube live, by all means, stick your head in and say hello. I know you normally do. Harry's here as well. Chelsea. Chelsea sneaked it tonight. We'll get to them in a little while. Champions League picks. Barry did all right. I hit 3 out of 5, which means profit because a couple of them were half-decent prices. What made me laugh was I had 3 really good picks and 2 really, really terrible picks. There was no sort of luck involved at all. They were either easy winners or absolute dog shit. I took Zagreb the other night. I put the Zagreb game on. It was the early kickoff on Tuesday, first bet of the week. And I put the game on after 2 minutes. I put it on. And Zagreb had about 8 chances in the first minute after I put it on. Ball was bouncing all around the Bratislava box. Then Bratislava break and score. I thought, oh, for fuck's sake, here we go. Like, literally, first time they've been out of the penalty area. 4 minutes into the week, and I'm 1-0 down. As it happens, Zagreb equalised almost immediately. We're in the lead by half-time. Ran out 4-1 winners. But the only thing I want to say on that is, Barry, is we need to remember Bratislava because they're absolutely terrible. They've got no intention of defending at any point. So for the next round of games, don't let me forget, everyone. We're going to do something with Bratislava, and we've got 4 more game weeks to take advantage of this because they were absolutely wide open. Some of the little bits and bobs going forward were all right, but defensively, toilet. And that was at home against Zagreb, who aren't brilliant. I took Monaco, draw no bet. Monaco won. I should have had a bigger pair of balls, Barry, and took Monaco outright. They scored right at the end. So, in fact, it was kind of the perfect handicap because it looked like they might get held 0-0, and then they didn't. On Sporting Lisbon team total, I took them to score 2, 13-8. They scored twice as many as that. And then I had 2 absolute horrors. Celtic, everyone faded. Not even on the no bet list because that's 2 weeks running, 2 match days running. Atalanta, and then they humped Leipzig 4-1 the other night. And Feyenoord at home against the team who hadn't scored yet in Salzburg. Salzburg won 2-0. So 2 absolute horrors. I was all right with that though, Baz. Profit. How was your picks?
2 winners, 2 losers. I took Villa. Villa really underwhelming. It was quite a funny way for them to lose it, wasn't it? The exact same situation which occurred in the Bayern v Arsenal game last year. David Raya and Arsenal, I think it was Gabriel, got away with it. Similar thing happened the other week in Newcastle. I seen someone shared a video from Newcastle Brighton.
Well, that happened at my end, Barry, right in front of me, and I cannot for the life of me remember that happening. I must have just been looking at something else.
I didn't recall it from watching the game either, but when you watch the video back, it's exactly the same situation, isn't it? So yeah, it's one of them where sometimes they get given and sometimes they don't. And I think it's something that'll come up more often now because of the way teams are playing, where they're playing it out from the back, and quite often the defenders are coming in and just taking a quick goal kick to the keeper or whatever. So I would probably say a bit more of it, and obviously there needs to be a bit more consistency with it. So picks wise, yeah, Villa was rubbish. I can't remember what my one was on Tuesday, but that wasn't very good, whatever it was. But last night was good. I mean, last night
Barcelona, didn't you?
Yeah, so last night I had Barcelona handicap, and I mentioned the Barcelona team total as well. It's 5-2, so the handicap hit. And the one that went really well for me was the Arsenal. Absolutely nailed that because I said the under 2.5 looked nailed on. I thought Inter looked the best value at 8-5. That was my pick, was Inter to win, so a good plus money price. And I said I thought Inter would probably nick it 1-0, so I even got the correct score in there as well. So that one went really well. So yeah, I mentioned to you this morning when we covered the. You mentioned the Celtic game. Celtic it's exactly what I feared. The reason I missed that is just because Celtic have been doing okay, and I had a bit of a fear for that one, so I'm glad I dodged it. But I mentioned to you today when you talk about the Sporting game. It was Lee was in the chat when we done the podcast the other day, and he mentioned Gyökeres. Would you pronounce it? Shots on target. 7-4 for 2 shots on target. 7-1 for 3 shots on target was what Lee put out in the chat. He ended up with 5 shots on target. I mean, he scored a hat-trick in the game. So yeah, great picks there from Lee. Really, really good suggestions there. So once again, you get in, you listen to the chat, and it's not just us putting out some decent stuff. Lee was also at it this week.
Yeah, good effort. Actually, tonight, West Brom v Burnley, Lee and Callum, I saw on Twitter a big list of reasons why there wasn't going to be any goals in that game.
Yeah, 0-0.
0-0, absolutely. Yeah, the referee
had 0-0 written all over that.
Yeah. And we wanted to mention Joe Dollar as well. Joe left us a nice review, attempting to redress the balance after that silly Sally left us a 1-star review. Joe left us some nice words, so appreciate that, Joe.
And, Ian, of course, that opens, lots of people can be like Joe and leave more 5-star reviews. That would be very nice.
Be like Joe. That's another T-shirt. Loads of merch this week. Ian's joined us. How you doing? And the Bacchus family commenting on my bathrobe. Yes, I have been in the bath. I listened to the Man United game on the radio in the bath, and I have indeed moisturised with my night moisturiser. The 7 p.m. moisturiser, Barry, was stressing me out the other day because I don't know if your skin would. I assume I've got 2 bottles. It's got to be the same thing in both bottles, isn't it? Is it not a racket? They've got a big pot of it, and they're just putting it in both.
I mean, both bottles are rackets. You don't need that shit. I Obviously, I don't moisturise, Malcolm, and I've got lovely skin, so you're being conned either way.
No, that's not true. I'm in great condition. I did want to mention, you just mentioned the refereeing. The Champions League referee, every game just seemed to be dog shit. The one that stands out an absolute mile is the Michael Oliver decision for PSV. That is literally, I think, the worst one I've ever seen. It's the worst VAR intervention, and then the referee giving that decision that I've ever seen. I can't think of a worse one. There's been some shockers, but that is just the worst one I've ever seen.
I must have watched the replay of that about a dozen times before I actually noticed he'd actually stepped on his toes. Because the amount of times I looked at it and just thought, hey, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. And then I was thinking, is this video the full video? Or has he handled the ball before this video started? I couldn't get my head around it. Absolutely bonkers. He did stand on the defender's toe as he ran past him, but it had no influence on anything, did it? It had no impact on the fact he'd just waltzed past him and then scored. Yeah, it was garbage.
He's just playing football. He's running along playing football. He hasn't fouled anyone. Yep. Like he might have stood on his toe, but he hasn't fouled him. And the other thing about that is underneath some of the social media comments, again, every week I keep coming on and saying, don't go on social media, it's all bollocks. And then half of my patter is things I've read on social media. And it was people kind of saying, oh, well, yeah, but it isn't. I agree, it's really unfortunate incident, but he has stood on his toe. Well, if that's where we are, like, you've got fucking no chance. Like, if people disagreeing with me, then really that's a huge problem, Barry. Like, so yeah. I think that covers European. Oh, it's actually, I suppose we should mention the whatever the Thursday night competitions are. Chelsea won 8-0 against a team I had literally never heard of until last night. Man United.
The team were called
very lethargic.
The team were called Noah.
Yeah.
I read this afternoon that Noah was going to park his Ark, but if he didn't park it very well.
Right. Well, here, oddly enough, Barry, and this is completely off script. This could be completely coincidence. Noah's Ark. Do you remember where Noah's Ark came to rest, Barry? On what mountain? The Americans will know this. They're all biblical.
Mount Sinai.
No, it wasn't. That's where he got the 10 Commandments, isn't it? Mount Ararat is the answer. That's where the dove went and sat on. Mount Ararat is in Armenia. Although slightly in a disputed territory across the border with Turkey, it's officially sort of culturally Armenian, but I think as it stands, it's just over the border in Turkey. It's a bit of a battleground, like. So very possibly the team Noah might have something to do with the Ark and Mount Ararat. Christ, this is educational.
On Noah, Armenian team as well. Is that where they're from, Armenia?
That's my point, yeah.
I wouldn't have known that. See, infotainment again, Malcolm. Well done.
Infotainment, honestly. If you don't learn something listening to me and Barry, you're doing something wrong. So that was that. Man United were incredibly lethargic against PAOK and beat them 2-0. PAOK missed an absolute sitter at 1-0 as well. I took PAOK on the handicap +2, so I pushed. I thought, you just can't. Why would Man U batter anybody? I don't understand it. And they got there in the end. Ahmad's played well. And I'm just laughing at Ian. There's too much religious fundamentalism. Didn't expect that tonight, did you, when you joined? Yeah, Ahmad played well, but that was about it. Man United didn't look anything one way or the other. And who else played tonight? Oh, Tottenham just did a Tottenham. Tottenham did a Tottenham, didn't they? There was a very Spursy performance. They go away and they lose 3-2. They might win. All of the, from 6-0 win to 6-0 loss, every outcome is on the table at all times against all opposition, regardless of the team they put out. Some Lancashire that I've never heard of, young lad, scored and then got sent off. Victor Osimhen scored a couple. So just very Spursy. So again, we learned nothing from that. Shamrock Rovers beat the New Saints 2-1, Barry. I don't know what, Larne were 1-0 up early on against St Gallen of Switzerland. Don't know how that finished, but that was it. Brian's joined us. Brian's happy to be learned. It's like a TED talk, isn't it? Really, lecture, you could say. Yeah, so I think that's that covered. Baz, anything else?
No. I mean, I haven't watched any of the Europa stuff tonight, to be honest. I had no appetite for it whatsoever.
I brought you around, though. You're in a much better mood now, aren't you, than we were 16 minutes ago?
Oh, I'm buzzing.
Can't smile wide enough, Barry. Right, okay. So we've got a full slate of Premier League games to pick from here. College basketball is back. The college experience you need to follow. Breaking it all down. Daily podcast as well, those boys are absolutely hardcore. 5-star rate and review all of the SGPN shows. Underdog Pick'em's got one of the biggest menus for all sports. NFL, college, football, MMA, NBA, NASCAR. We're still on the Boosto, but someone needs to update that. Sign up with the code PLGP to claim a special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code PLGP. Right, okay then. We've got no Friday night football. We've got no Saturday lunchtime football. There's a bit of a split here. There's 4 games on Saturday early on, where it's a lot of bum fighting going on. All that said, in the show last week, it seems to me the bottom half are all taking each other on, and the top half are all taking each other on almost exclusively. We start on Saturday at 3:00. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 3:00 kickoffs this week, starting with Brentford taking on Bournemouth, where Brentford are 6-4 plus 150. The draw is 13-5 plus 260. Bournemouth 17-10 plus 170. Brentford are definitely a team for home and away splits. That's what we've learned here. They've won 4, drawn 1 at home. Very good. They have played 5, lost 5 away from home. Very bad. The home wins have been, they've had a 4-3, a 5-3, 3-1, 2-1. So clear data for both teams to score an over 2.5. 3 of those games, both teams to score an over 3.5. And both teams have scored 9 out of 10. So it's a relatively good place to start that with Brentford. Bournemouth are unbeaten in 3. Obviously won against Manchester City last week. Not as reliable for goals or totals, though, which kind of offsets those Brentford stats a little bit. Both teams to score only 6 out of 10, and only 2.5, over 2.5, only 4 out of 10 for Bournemouth. Kind of counterintuitive because you do think of them as a goals team. They've won 1, drawn 2, lost 2 away from home. Their only win was that fluke 3-2 at Everton, and it was a fluke. They lost at Leicester. They should have lost at Villa, 96-minute equaliser. I can't take Bournemouth to win. And this is a bit odd as well, because on the Monday night show, I mentioned Bournemouth and Forest as 2 teams that we should give a little bit of credit to. And the minute I looked at both of their games tonight, I'm like, I can't back them. They're just still in my head too short a price. So I don't want to back Bournemouth on that away form. I actually quite fancy Brentford, but it's a little bit of a safer play than the outright win. There's a Brentford team total. They've been scoring plenty of goals at home. On the grounds, I'm not really sure what the outright outcome is going to be. I'm going to take Brentford to score twice, which is 9-10 minus 111.
Yeah, like you, I thought started off with a tough set of games this week. A lot of even matchups, teams around the same sort of area, the table, just 2 places and 2 points separating these 2 in the league. And I think I come into it thinking Bournemouth seem to be the team in better form here. 7 points from the last 3 games, and that was against Arsenal, City, and Villa. Really, really good return from those 3 games. Then you look at Brentford, just lost to Fulham. They needed pens against Sheffield in the Cup. 96-minute winner needed against Ipswich. So looking at all that, you'd say the recent form definitely swings towards Bournemouth's favour. But then you look at the respective home and away form. Brentford haven't lost at home yet this season, and they've scored 15 of their 19 goals this season have come at home. Bournemouth just 1 win away from home all season. That was the crazy 3-2 where the 2-0 down with 5 minutes to go. So overall form, I would say Bournemouth look the better of it at the moment. But you look at them home and away, and it says Brentford to me. Like you, I decided to stray away from picking a winner. I did slightly lean towards Brentford because of that home form, and I've done exactly the same thing as you. I went towards the goals because they're full of goals. As I say, 15 of the 19 goals have come at home already this season. I'll take them to score 2 or more at 10 to 11. They've done it in 4 of their 5 home games already. So same pick, Brentford team total, over 1.5, 10 to 11.
Team right, Barry. Solid start. We move on to the second of the 4 3:00 kickoffs between Crystal Palace and Fulham. Crystal Palace are 8-5 plus 160. The draw 5-2 plus 250. Fulham 8-5 plus 160. It is a match on the books, Barry. They can't split them, can you?
No.
Ooh.
I mean, Palace look to turn a bit of a corner. They broke a 3-game losing streak by beating Spurs. It was a really good result. Followed up with a draw last week against Wolves, and they had a good cup win as well against Villa in the middle of those two. Goals have been hard to come by for them earlier in the season. They scored just 8 goals in their 10 games. Only Southampton have scored less than Palace so far. Fulham, on the other hand, find themselves up in the top half. They've got a good record against the teams in and around them. They beat Newcastle, they beat Forest, they beat Brentford in their last 6 games. They did lose to Villa and City, though. And the thing that stood out with the Fulham form is that both teams to score. 8 of their 10 games have seen both teams to score so far. Fulham themselves have only failed to score once. That was on the first day. Man United 1-0 is the only time Fulham have been shut out. I think it's another close matchup here. Another one where the books have got them closely matched, and I couldn't really pick a side. Fulham always getting in amongst the goals. As I say, both teams to score as a regular player. They've only got 1 clean sheet, only been shut out once. And Palace has started to show some glimpses of a bit of attacking threat in the recent weeks. They put 2 past Wolves, they put 2 past Villa. Both teams to score. For me, it's a short one, but I'm going to take both teams to score between Fulham and Palace at 8-11.
There is a way of splitting them, Baz, which I'll get to in a minute. 4 points from the last 2 for Palace. It's a little bit better. And they need to win games like this, home against teams around them, really to establish that they're not in a relegation fight, because they haven't been very good at all. The difference here is, Brentford 2 injury time goals on Monday. I actually thought they were quite good value. Fulham beat Brentford on Monday with those 2 injury time goals. They were quite good value for it because they fell behind, and we've seen a lot of the times in these tight matchups that first goal is absolutely crucial. But not too many goals. 4 out of their 5 away games under 2.5. The only one that went over was a 3-2 at Manchester City. Palace only 4 out of 10 have gone over 2.5 for them. So the over and unders actually, I quite like the under, but it's actually priced accordingly. It's 9 to 10. 9 to 10 both ways, actually, on the over and the under. This easily could be the one of the week. But the key, Barry, is the Crystal Palace injuries. They've got a load of injuries, and Palace, more than anyone, seem to miss their key players. Adam Wharton is out. Eze is out. Eddie Nketiah picked up an injury this morning, out. Lerma is out. Will Hughes, not as important. Will Hughes is suspended. It's a big chunk out of Palace's key men that are missing. And I think that just swings it in Fulham's favour. There's nothing much to split them, but that's it. Fulham are healthy. They got momentum. They got a good late winner the other night. And I do think that makes the difference. So I'm going to take Fulham here. 8-5 plus 160. Third up, this is horrible. This is the back garden, close the curtains game of the week between West Ham United and Everton. West Ham United are 15-13 plus 115. The draw's 12-5 plus 240. Everton are 5-2 plus 250. there's not much to recommend West Ham. Kudus was he got a 6-game ban or a 5-game ban?
Is that what he got? I didn't realise that.
I'm really surprised at that. Because let's be honest, he didn't do that much. He went a bit mental, but it was more funny mental than he wasn't like kicking
3 red card offences.
He went a bit daft, didn't he? Bear in mind, he only got yellow carded at the time for going daft.
He could have had 3 reds.
The upgrade from a yellow card to a 5-game ban, something else. So yeah, he misses the Newcastle match in a couple of weeks. But not much to recommend West Ham at all. They won their last home game, but it was against Man United, who were shite, and they were also quite lucky to beat Man United, who were shite. They got spanked at Nottingham Forest last week. They absolutely phoned that performance in, with the red card from Alvarez as well. Was a shocker. But they have won the last 2 home games, over 2.5 goals, 4 in a row for West Ham. Everton lost last week. They were unlucky losers, I think, at Southampton. That was the first defeat in 6 games, under 2.5 goals, 5 of their last 6. So there's no help in the trends there. It's contrasting. West Ham are going over, Everton are going under. It was impossible. So I tried to get into the stats, Baz. I tried to get into the props, and I couldn't do it. The bookies are absolutely all over everything. I looked around for ages. I fished around the depths in the props, and I came up with nothing. Therefore, I plumped for the draw, Barry, because I had no way of splitting any of this rubbish. It could very well be the 1-1 of the week. The comments, the audience are all over the 1-1 of the week. I haven't actually gone for it, but I have. Basically, because I've got no alternatives, Barry. I've gone for the draw, 12-5 plus 240.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned at the start a horrible one, and it's the first line of my handicap here is another horrible game here to get stuck into. Neither side on the list of teams you want to rely on from one week to the next. So it's another where I looked at the respective home and away form for the teams. And although West Ham have had a pretty average start, I think their home form's okay. They've beaten Man United, beaten Ipswich, they've beaten Bournemouth at home. They did lose to Man City and Chelsea. But that says to me, against average sides at home, they're doing well enough. And Everton away from home have got just 1 win all season. They beat Ipswich, and they've lost 3 of their other 5 away games as well, including that 1-0 last week to Southampton, which was a bit of a shocker of a result against Southampton, who are possibly the worst team in the league. All of those form lines to me just makes me think West Ham are the better value. I mean, I certainly wouldn't try and put you off your pick of the draw, but I just felt, looking at the home and away form for either side, West Ham looked to have the better of it. So I'm taking West Ham to win. I've got West Ham to beat Everton at 23-20.
I just couldn't put any money on West Ham. Right, I haven't watched them last week. You just couldn't. But yeah, this one will be way down our list. Callum's just joined us, 29 minutes late. 15 burpees, Callum, and you, James, actually, while you're on. You can do 15 burpees. So do they have burpees in Canada, Barry, do you think?
Surely that's a global phenomenon, that.
Is it? I bet they haven't got spotty dogs, though. 25 spotty dogs. They won't have them, but. So, yeah, welcome, Callum, James. How are we doing? You have missed Bible studies, and Barry is in a right bad mood because he's got something wrong with his lugs, and I have moisturised and look fantastic. Right, next. I'm going to do more adverts, Baz. Listen to this. Rhythm are SGPN's proud partner. Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform. Helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models, moneyline spreads, totals, props, all on there. You can build your own model or just borrow one of the top performing models off the old leaderboard. You can track props in the Rhythm app as well. College basketball models have just launched. Claim your 7-day free trial by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And we're brought to you by BetUS, the best in the business. BetUS has been around for over 30 years. Easily deposit using crypto and get lightning fast payouts. Bet we like tonight on BetUS, I think, is the Ravens -6 against the Bengals. Pretty straightforward there. Battle of, it's not Ohio, is it? Baltimore, Maryland? Who knows? Sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. Promo code SGPN, so they know that we sent you. BetUS is America's favourite sportsbook. And the final one of these 3 o'clock bum fights is Wolverhampton Wanderers taking on Southampton, where Wolves are 9-10, minus 111. The draw's 11-4, plus 275. Southampton are 14-5, plus 280. Barry.
Which one are we on? Wolves and Southampton. Sorry, I've scrolled away from my notes. I kept this one quite simple. It may also be really foolish. But I think this could be the last chance saloon for O'Neill. I think if he doesn't get a win this weekend, I reckon it could be him out the door as the second manager to be booted out. Impossible really to see how he survives if he can't get a win out of this one. I got both sides wrong last week. I thought Wolves might finally get a win. They didn't. I expected Southampton to lose to Everton. They didn't. But it hasn't really changed my view on either side. Wolves, I still think, will have enough to get out of trouble. They do need to improve at the back. But they aren't short of goals themselves at the other end. They scored 14 in 10 games. The problem is they generally need 3 to win a game because they can't stop shitting them. I mean, how many they conceded now? Is it something like 24 or something? It's an astonishing amount of goals they've been letting in. But they are up against the lowest scoring side in the league here in Southampton. So on this occasion, I think a couple of goals might be sufficient for Wolves. I still think Wolves are better than Southampton. Wolves at home at around even money and scoring goals, I think they can beat Southampton here. So I'm going to try again with Wolves for the second week in a row. Wolves to win this one at 19-20.
Yeah, this is one of those. We picked a load of these 2 weeks ago, didn't we? The 9-10 home favourites, traps, all the traps. I'll happily get in there again, Baz. Put your sticks and leaves on. I will plough straight in. It's got to be time for Wolves. They can't not win forever. They're all right, Wolves. They have had a hard start. Back-to-back 2-2 draws. They had the lead against Palace relatively late on last week. But they did look good going forward, Baz. I agree with you. Southampton got the win eventually. It was lucky, I think. It was that sliding doors moment. And they've lost 5 out of 5 away from home. They've conceded 3 in 3 of their 5 away games. So it's time for Wolves at 19-20, minus 105. Saturday tea time, 5:30 kickoff is Brighton and Hove Albion against Manchester City. Brighton are 31-10. Line movement report, Brighton were 100-30. Now into 31-10. So the fifth of a point they've been nipped in, a little bit of money. The draw is 29-10 plus 290. Man City were 3-4 minus 133. Oh, they still are actually. Yeah, so 3-4 minus 133 for Manchester City. Talking of traps, Man City at 3-4, that's a trap in it. I mean, we're going to say after the game when they've won 3-0, God, I can't believe Man City with that price. But they got battered in the week. They got beat last week against Bournemouth. I'm pleased we got something on Sporting this week because we were right to do so. We read it correctly. No one read the 4-1, but we did get the fact that they were vulnerable at the back and that Sporting had goals. And I think if we'd had a bigger pair, we probably should have backed Sporting because we kind of wanted to. They've only got 1 clean sheet in 9 games. They're not scoring a load of goals either. Brighton showed up well for a long way last week against Liverpool. They led into the final quarter of the game. I'm still not ready to get into the goals market, Barry. I can't shake the 1-0 up here. I mention it every week. It's still in my mind. But I've got creative here, Barry. Right, I'll give you a list of teams. You're going to tell me what they did against Man City, Barry. Ipswich, Fulham, Brentford, Wolves and Bournemouth. What did they all do against Man City?
Probably scored.
Scored first is the answer. First goal, Barry. So the pick is Brighton to score first, 8-5 at plus 160. The other pick, if you don't like that, and this is the one I talked myself out of in the Newcastle game a couple of weeks ago, was Brighton to win a half. Brighton have won a half in 8 of their 10 games, Barry. It's all right, isn't it? And it's 11-8 plus 137. So, yeah, a couple of options there. Brighton to score first or Brighton to win a half. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I agree with you. 3 to 4 Man City would normally appeal against anyone, but at the current time, definitely not. 3 straight defeats now for Man City. Long time since we've said that. So immediately coming into this, looking away from the usual City markets. I'm not looking for City goals, handicaps, score both halves, win both halves. Can't touch any of them at the moment. Have to take a tentative approach to Man City as it stands. That's not to say they won't win it. As you said, we could look back at this game afterwards. They might win it 3-0. They aren't scoring loads of goals, but they're always capable of doing so on any occasion. Hard to back at odds on, away from home, having just lost 3 straight away games though. Brighton have only lost once at home all season. That was the 3-2 against Liverpool in the Cup. So unbeaten at home in the league. And goals, you said you can't get involved with goals. I mean, goals for Brighton games always stand out to me, but their last 5 home games, Brighton, 3-2, 2-2, 3-2, 2-2, 3-2. There's only 2 scorelines.
It's a solid trend, like.
But anyway, over 3.5 hitting every week. A couple of over, well, three of them gone over 4.5 as well. That over 3.5 hit 6 out of 8 times. Both teams to scores hit 6 out of 8 for home games for Brighton this season in all competitions. And the both teams to score 2. Both teams to score twice has just hit 5 straight times. I think this game could go either way, but I can see both teams getting in amongst it. Don't mind your pick of Brighton winning a half. I don't mind your pick of Brighton scoring first. It'll help me. Even in defeat, City are still getting on the score sheet every week. They scored in each one of those 3 defeats recently. It's both teams are scoring over 2.5 for me. I just can't see City keeping a clean sheet away to Brighton. They might go and win the game. They might not, but I think there'll be goals in it. So I'll take the both to score and over 2.5 between Brighton and Man City. It's at 4-5.
Okay, thank you. Saturday night football, 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. I'm in frigging work. Do you know where I'm working on Saturday, Barry? Ilkley. Where the fucking hell is Ilkley? Like,
Sounds like Yorkshire.
Yeah, Ilkley Mobile. That's the song, innit? The comments will know. Ilkley. I'm not happy about that, Barry. It's certainly not an E postcode. I know that. Liverpool taking on Aston Villa. Liverpool are 1-2. Actually, they're a bit shorter than 1-2. They've shortened up a little bit, having won in the week, and Villa got beat. Liverpool are 11-25 now, round about -227, with the draw 21-4, and Villa are at 21-4 plus 475. 2. This is you, Baz. Go.
Yeah, I mean, it stands out as one of the games of the week, looking at the fixture, but then a little drop in form for Villa recently possibly makes it less appealing than it would have been a few weeks ago. Villa no winning 4 now and 3 straight defeats. And they've looked a little underwhelming. There's no hard look in any of their recent form. I just don't think they've looked very good. A little bit out of sort. Liverpool, on the other hand, continue to impress. I foolishly faded them in midweek. Took Leverkusen to get something. It was a tight one for a while, and then Liverpool absolutely battered them 4-0 in the end. So I want Liverpool on my side here, but it's where you go to find a pick with them at 4-9. They've covered the handicap in 5 of their 8 games at home this season in all competitions. They did only win by a single goal against Brighton and Chelsea, though, which could be seen as good comparisons. But the way Villa fell apart against Spurs last week was alarming. Villa defensively haven't been that strong all season, really. They've got the worst defence in the top half in terms of goals conceded. I like Liverpool here. I think Liverpool will win it. The home form is rock solid. I think they'll get at least a couple of goals. But I've decided to go for second half goals here. Liverpool scored 4 in the second half in midweek, 0-0 at half time. They were 1-0 down against Brighton, scored 2 in the second half. There were 5 second half goals in the cup game with Brighton before that. So the last few games for Liverpool have seen loads of second half goals. We saw Villa fall apart last week in the second half against Spurs. And I think earlier in the season, when Villa were getting goals, they were sort of scoring second half goals, late goals as well. I wanted to go for match goals, second half, over 1.5, but it's a little bit short at 4-6. So I'm going to be a bit bolder. I think Liverpool will score at least 2 in the second half of this game. I'm going to take Liverpool team total in the second half over 1.5 at 7-5.
That's interesting, Baz, because I'm on the same line, same but different. 2-point lead for Liverpool. They were very good again in the week against Leverkusen. But they haven't covered a handicap in the last 5 Premier League games. They haven't scored more than 2 goals in 5 games in a row in the league as well. Villa, I don't know if it's just lazy to say the Champions League catching up with them or something else is wrong. It's one or the other. It doesn't really matter what. But they collapsed last week at Tottenham. 1 win in 6. They have won 3 of the 5 away games. But they played Arsenal and Tottenham of the better teams, lost 2-0 and 4-1. Weren't great in the week against in the Champions League. I think Liverpool will win. The 1-2 is far too short. Like I say, I don't really fancy them on the handicap. I've got two picks again here, Baz. The first one is Liverpool to win in over 2 goals, match goals. So either the 2-1 Liverpool or the 3-0. Your second half goals would help me out there. And the other classic, Baz, was Liverpool to score in both halves, because Liverpool have just looked so good going forward. And I think that's even money, Baz. It's not a bad price, because I do think this is a bad spot for Villa. Liverpool just look so good going forward, and it might just be the 2-1 or the 2-0, but they can get one of them in each half. So again, I'm not hedging me bets, Baz, but I'll just give it a couple of options, Barry. And if one of them wins, I'll claim that was my main pick. On to Sunday, where you have 1, 2, 3 2:00 kickoffs. The first of which being Manchester United against Leicester City. Man United are 9-25, minus 277. The draw is 9-2 plus 450. Leicester 11-2 plus 550. I thought Manchester United were slightly second best last week against Chelsea. Did get the 1-1 draw. Only 1 win in 6 league games. Showed me nothing tonight that makes me think they're in any way bettable in a Premier League game. They haven't covered a handicap since that 3-0 win at Southampton, Barry, which was quite lucky. That was on the 14th of September. So that is the only time they've done it. You can't bet them. We're not going to bet them at minus 277, and they're not covering handicaps. So you have to put a line through Man United. They've scored 4 goals in 6 games, so team total's not interesting either. Leicester are chipping away. Late equaliser at Ipswich keeps them going. Only 1 defeat in the last 4. Leicester have only lost on the handicap twice. Those games were against Arsenal and Forest. So I'm happy to take all of those trends and take Leicester on the handicap. They're not getting smashed. Man United aren't smashing teams. People might throw the League Cup at you, which was these 2 teams played each other 3 weeks ago. Man United won 5-2. Well, it's a fucking League Cup. Leicester have changed everyone. Man United aren't thumping teams. Leicester aren't getting thumped. Leicester with a 1.5-goal start is 6-7, minus 116, Barry.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I thought the price on Man United 2-5 is a horrible price, really. They did get a decent draw against Chelsea last week. We did see them put 5 past Leicester in the Cup a week ago, but they've won just 3 league games all season. You cannot be backing anyone who's won 3 of 10 games at 2-5. Man United might win this. They probably should win this at home, but I can't have them at 2-5. And like you, I certainly don't want them on any handicaps or anything like that. So I went into the shots market, Malcolm. The teams played each other last week. 39 shots in total in that League Cup game. As you say, it's cup football, it's different lineups, but 39 is still a lot of shots. And it's quite common in Leicester games. The last 6 Leicester games have seen 34, 39, 31, 32, 25 and 40. So regularly over 30 shots in Leicester games. And Man United games this season are averaging around 30 shots per game also. The line here is 28.5. And just looking at the form for both sides, there's plenty of form for plenty of shots on goal. Not, Man United won't score many of them, but they'll take plenty of efforts. I'm going to take the overs. Over 28.5 shots in the Man United v Leicester game at 5-6.
Right, Barry, props market. Our American audience loves that, Baz. And they'll be absolutely buzzing. Okay, 2:00 on Sunday, it's Nottingham Forest, third place Nottingham Forest, to give them that full title, taking on Newcastle United. Nottingham Forest are 7-4, plus 175. The draw 23-10, plus 230. Newcastle are 8-5, plus 160. Barry, close on the books. What have you got?
What have you got? What are the first 4 words I've written down in my notes here?
What?
What are the first 4 words of my notes here?
Third place Nottingham Forest.
Exactly that, yes.
Hey!
Well done.
Clever, mate.
Who'd have thought of that? Third place Nottingham Forest. Really consistent season so far, been really tough to break down. Only conceded 7 all season and still only that 1 defeat to Fulham. There's only Liverpool in the league who've conceded less goals than Forest so far. Newcastle last couple of weeks looked to have turned a bit of a corner, potentially. Back-to-back wins against Chelsea and Arsenal. We'll see them come into this in sort of good spirits. But you have to caveat the fact they were both at home. And as we know, Newcastle struggles, always come on the road. Just 1 win in 6 games inside 90 minutes for Newcastle. And I say inside 90 minutes because we did beat Nottingham Forest on penalties in the League Cup following a 1-1 in normal time. So there is a bit of recent form. Forest made a lot of changes that day. They made a lot more changes than Newcastle. Newcastle were fairly strong. And 1-1 was probably about a fair result. I think we might see a similar script. I think another tight game is on the cards here. I wouldn't want to take Newcastle to win this away from home. Just can't back Newcastle at the minute. So I found it best to avoid taking a side here. I think the unders is the way to play it. The 3-0 over West Ham last week, I took the overs for Forest against West Ham. That was the first Forest home game to go over 2.5 goals, and it was massively aided by the fact West Ham picked up a red card in that game. Newcastle themselves have just seen under 2.5 goals in 4 of their last 5 games. And I thought it would be a little bit shorter. I thought the unders would be favourites, pretty much neck and neck. Under 2.5 goals between Forest and Newcastle at 10-11.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't talk you off that, Baz. I think it is going to be relatively tight. But 3 wins in a row for Forest against West Ham, Leicester and Palace. They've played 5 top-half teams, Barry, and they've only won once. It was away at Liverpool. It's a good win. But the 4 other 4, they haven't. Now, Newcastle aren't in the top half. I understand that. However, they're going they are a top-half team. Back-to-back clean sheets for Newcastle, Chelsea in the Cup and Arsenal. Hopefully now on the right track. I don't think Forest will win. But I didn't even know I'd made this pick. I must have written this down absent-mindedly. I thought my pick was Newcastle, 14-9, plus 155. What I've written down is Newcastle draw no bet, 4-5, minus 125. Bollock, I'm scribbling that out, Barry. Here we go. Scribbled right out. I'm going to take Newcastle. Listen, we're better than Forest. That's just a fact. I never take Newcastle. Instant regret. I've almost certainly mushed them. I apologise to everybody. But Newcastle are going to win this 14-9, plus 155. Chris Wood to score. Chris will almost certainly score. Elliot Anderson will get his first ever Premier League goal against Newcastle. Yeah, just a load of terrible things. 2:00 is the penultimate game on the cards. Tottenham Hotspur take on Ipswich Town. Tottenham are 2-9, minus 450. The draw is 6-1, and Ipswich Town are 10-1. Actually, line movement report: Ipswich into 8-1. Is that right? Okay, now Ipswich have been backed tonight on the grounds of Tottenham being ridiculous in Turkey. Tottenham have won 4 of their 5 home games. The only block is a 1-0 loss to Arsenal. But those home games, Baz, the home wins, 4-0 v Everton, 3-0 v Brentford, 4-1 v West Ham, 4-1 v Villa. They've scored 4 3 times. They've won by 3 times. And I was just happy to stay in that area for a bit. This is 100% the one zone, and I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud, where you can trust Tottenham. Remember me saying that against Crystal Palace a couple of weeks ago. Ipswich, 5 draws, 5 losses. The last 2 away games, Barry, they lost 4-1 at West Ham, and they lost 5-3 at Brentford. Spurs to win and both teams to score is 5-4 plus 125. I still don't want Tottenham to keep a clean sheet. The keeper's ridiculous. He's made it a spaghetti. Ipswich do score goals and Spurs will batter them. It happens all the time. This is easy. It's free money. Tottenham to win with both teams to score 5-4 plus 125.
Yeah, you've got a bigger price than me out of it, but it is a tricky one when you're starting with Spurs at 1-4. It's a hard starting point. If you fancy them to win, I mean, there's always, as you say, a vulnerability to Spurs. You mentioned earlier, every possible option is on the cards. Always a little bit of inconsistency, but they should win this one. They've won 7 of their 8 home games in all competitions. Only Arsenal have come away from here with anything this season. And of course, Ipswich are still winless. They've just conceded 4 in each of the last 2 away games, sorry. And Spurs at home have got goals in them. They put 4 past Villa, 4 past Brentford, Everton. It wasn't Brentford. They put 4 past 3 teams. I can't remember the other one was. Brentford, I think they put 3 past. Even put a couple past City at home in the Cup the other week as well. I'm going for Spurs goals, a shorter price, but I'm going for Spurs team total over 2.5 at 8-11.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think everyone except Andy, who appears to be determined that Tottenham are shite. Everyone's kind of handicapping this the same way. It's finding the bet in it, but as we often say, handicap it the same way. You've still got to find a winning pick. Because if Tottenham win 3 or 4-0, I'm going to be annoyed that I've added on the both teams to score. But likely, if Tottenham win 2-1, you're going to be annoyed you've gone the other way. Finally, we go with the big game of the weekend, 4:30 on Sunday, 11:30 Eastern Time. Chelsea taking on Arsenal. Chelsea are in 9-5 plus 180 from 2-1. So in a fifth of a point. The draw 12-5 plus 240. And Arsenal are 11-8 plus 137. Actually drifted a little bit. 13-9 plus 145 Arsenal bet.
Yeah, I mean, looks to be the game of the week. Best fixture on the card, certainly. A little surprised to see Arsenal favourites, given the recent form. With Chelsea at home, I thought would just be slight favourites for this one. Arsenal have gone favourites here. No win in 3 league games for Arsenal. Defeat to Inter in midweek. And a lot of goals recently. They were shut out by Newcastle, Inter, and Bournemouth recently. They've also stopped with the clean sheets. Started really strong defensively. No clean sheet now in 6 league games. We know Odegaard's been a miss. He made an appearance late yesterday. Remains to be seen whether he's good enough to start at the weekend, possibly coming off the bench again. There's injury risks apparently around Cole Palmer. I'm not sure how much I read into that. I think Cole Palmer will be ready for Sunday. Chelsea's form's dropped a little bit as well, though, like Arsenal. They've just 2 wins in 6 competitive games now. They beat Newcastle in the league and they beat Panathinaikos in Europe. But they've dropped points elsewhere. I haven't included tonight's game against Noah because I'd wrote my notes before that. Just 1 win in the last 4 league games. They drew with Man United. They were beaten by Liverpool. And they drew with Forest. So 2 teams who are both dropping points. It's one of those where I think if you've got strong feelings either way, you can find a good enough price to back either side if you could sort of make an argument for them. And I couldn't. I found it hard. I couldn't come down on either side. I think it'll be a really tight one. And I think that brings the draw into play. I couldn't pick a side, so I've took the draw. I've got the draw here at 12-5 between Chelsea and Arsenal.
You're right, Baz. I picked this on pure instinct. I looked and looked and looked, and I've watched both teams a lot. I've seen them both in person in the last 2 weeks. I've watched Chelsea, Liverpool. I watched Arsenal, Milan. And my instinct is just to want to take Chelsea. There's not much between the 2 teams on current form. Arsenal struggle a little bit again. If they don't score a set piece, they don't score. I mean, they're effectively Stoke City, aren't they? Chelsea, Cole Palmer's kind of the key for me. But if you say he's going to play, I think that's good enough. Arsenal are waiting on the fitness of Charlie Adam. in Kenwyn Jones. But I think Robert Huth is good to start for Arsenal at the weekend. But Chelsea, they've had a tricky run of games. The 1-1 at Man United, they beat Newcastle, they played okay at Liverpool, and it's just a high test again. No win in 3, 2 away games without a goal for Arsenal. Their only recent wins in that game log are at home to Southampton and Leicester. At the prices, I can only take Chelsea, Baz. So yeah, I've got them down here at 2-1. Might still be available in places, but it's 9-5 with Bet365. Barry, we are done. 10 games in the book. Where do you want to start with your shenanigans?
I'll chuck my lock out first of all. My lock is both teams to score between Palace and Fulham is where I'm starting on my lock this week.
Are you still on the 100% record there, Baz?
No, I've lost a couple.
Oh, have you?
8 out of 10 now, yeah.
I'm about 3 out of 10 on mine. I started quite well, 3 out of 3. I don't think I've hit one for about 6 weeks. Tottenham, it's not a pick I gave out, by the way. It's a pick you gave out, though. Tottenham plus 2.5 team total. 13-18, minus 138 is my look. My dog has to be Chelsea, I think, at those prices. Couple of accumulators. The corned beef pie is the over 2.5 goals at Brentford, Man United, Liverpool, and Tottenham. I hit mine last week at round about 5-2. This is about 3-1. So again, quite skinny, but it's a winner. And my Stake and Stilton accumulator is a moneyline treble, a win treble on Fulham, Chelsea, and Newcastle. Pays 20-1, Barry.
Nice. So my underdog, there was really nothing jumping off the page for me in terms of underdogs. I've took the draw in the Arsenal-Chelsea game. But if you were putting a gun to my head to find an underdog, Chelsea, like you, would be the one I would go for at the prices. My first ACCA, my corned beef pie ACCA is both teams to score treble. Brentford v Bournemouth, Palace v Fulham, and Brighton v City. Both teams to score also around 3-1. And my Stake and Stilton ACCA is Wolves and West Ham to win at home and finish it off with Chelsea-Arsenal draw. 14-1 treble. So Wolves and West Ham to win. Chelsea-Arsenal to draw at 14-1. I've got a score I'm going to put out on Mbeumo for Brentford. I think Brentford will get a couple this week. He will get at least one of them. 7-4 anytime. 11-2 first and last for Brian and Mbeumo. Have you got a scorer yourself?
I have. I've got Cole Palmer, Barry. 11-2 first and last. 15-8 plus 187 anytime. Lots of talk about him going missing in the big games. He's had a bit of stick. I don't know where that came from. I don't know if it's true or not, frankly. But this is a chance to put that right. So Cole Palmer. And Barry, I'm guessing you've got Baz's ladders. Guess what, Barry? I've got a ladder.
Yes.
I've never had a ladder before. I think this is my first ladder. But I've got myself a ladder.
I hope you haven't stolen my ladder.
I might have done. Well, you go first, and I'll throw mine out.
Yeah, my ladder's on the Man City game.
No, I haven't got that.
Man City corners. Spurs have been the eye catchers this year. We know Spurs are hitting double figures with corners every week. So I was actually surprised when I looked at the corners market, the corners totals for team this season, that Spurs weren't top of the table. Spurs have had 90 corners in 10 games. Man City have had 98 corners in 10 games so far. That's nearly 10 a game. 6 of their 10 games have gone into double figures. Only twice have they failed to get 8 corners this season. And the starting line here is only 6.5. Get plus money. So City corners over 6.5 at 11-10. Over 7.5 City corners at 15-8. Over 8.5 City corners is 3-1. Over 9.5, 5-1. Over 10.5 Man City corners at 9-1. And I'm going to finish off. They've done this once or twice this season. Over 11.5 City corners at 12-1.
Okay. I was alerted to my ladder on Twitter. Just someone said that Bruno Fernandes has been getting tons of shots off in the Van Nistelrooy system, whatever that is. I think he'd had 9 shots. Sorry?
I looked at this for my ladder.
Did you? Yeah. Well, I never, Barry. See, I'm learning from you. I think he'd had 9 in the 2 games that Van Nistelrooy's taken charge of. Now, the prices were relatively short for the shots. So we're going to have to get him to get some of these shots on target, Barry, because it's a shots on target ladder for Bruno Fernandes. So we're going to start with 6-5 for 2 shots on target, 4-1 for 3, and 12-1 for 4. You took shots in this game, Man United v Leicester, over 28.5. So Bruno can certainly get a few of them off. And if he gets a few on target, we're in the money, Barry. Yeah.
I looked at Bruno Fernandes' shots, not on target, and I found the prices a little bit too short. As you say, he has had 19 in his last 4 games, I think it is. I think he's had 5, 5, 5, and 4 shots on goal. I didn't look at how many of those were on target. But yeah, I don't mind it. As you say, he is getting involved quite a bit. So yeah, not a bad shout.
Thank you very much. Done, Barry. I have got nothing else to add. Anything you want to tell the people before we let them go?
No, just remember to leave your 5-star reviews. Press the 5-star button on Spotify. Write a few words if you're on Apple. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to give us a thumbs up or just leave us a comment.
Yeah, agree with that, Bars. Right, thank you very much. Fucking hell, it's international break, Barry, again.
Oh, I know. That drives me mad.
I mean, what are we going to talk about on Monday?
I mean, if I'm in a bad mood now, Malcolm, imagine what I'm going to be like on Monday night.
We're going to have to come back on Monday when we've picked 2 winners and had 8 losers each, and have to pick Finland against Romania or something like that. No one listens. We're not interested. We never win. Eswatini, that's the only thing. And I think they blobbed it last time as well. Anyway. Plus, I've got to go to fucking Ilkley, wherever that is. So we'll come back at some point on Monday and we'll talk about something. We might not even bother, who knows? But the thing to do is look out for the YouTube schedule. Right, thank you very much, Barry. Thank you, everybody who was in the chat. We appreciate it. I'm not going to list you because we've gone over an hour. You get in trouble for that. Good luck with all your bets at the weekend, and we will see you all down the road. Cheers.